conditions can be crippling. To help keep our employees and community members safe, our Buncombe County libraries and parks will be closed beginning on Saturday, January 24th. We will start locking the gates to our parks at 5 p.m. today. Our landfill and transfer station will be open on Saturday, but only from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. So if you need that service, please plan to get there early as we will close at 11 a.m. Beginning at 9 a.m. on Saturday, we will open 3 shelters in coordination with the American Red Cross. Shelter in Swannanoa will be available at Hearts with Hands, 850 Warren Wilson Road. In Northwest Buncombe, shelter will be available at Irwin High in the gymnasium. That address is 60 Lees Creek Road, Asheville. And in Southern Buncombe County, shelter will be available at the Writers YMCA, 3 Town Square Boulevard in Asheville. David Sweat, our Director of Health and Human Services, will share more details about that shelter. While we don't have a formal update from Duke Energy during this update, they wanted us to share that crews that are en route into Buncombe County to assist. They've got a large contingency rolling into the region and will have a staging area set up. All right, now, as you can see, we are taking this extremely seriously, and we can't stress enough that you need to do the same. Now, I heard a few minutes ago someone say we always overpredict, so they're not taking this storm seriously. Personally, I'm hoping that this storm passes by with little impact. However, as we say in our office, hope is not a strategy. You need to plan. So please take this as seriously as we're taking this, and we need for you to plan and plan now. With that, I'd like to invite our board chair of the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners, Amanda Edwards, to come forward now for an update.
Thank you, Avril. Good morning. Effective at noon today, the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners is declaring a local state of emergency. This declaration, which is scheduled to go through 6 p.m. Monday evening, also applies within the municipal limits of the city of Asheville, the town of Weaverville, town of Woodfin, the town of Black Mountain, the town of Montreat, and the town of Biltmore Forest. By enacting this local state of emergency, we can not only make the staffing arrangements to enact these emergency plans, but it will also help us further coordinate with state and federal agencies. As currently predicted, Winter Storm Fern will create extremely hazardous conditions. According to the National Weather Service, ice accumulations over a ½ inch easily create dangerous road conditions, downed tree limbs, branches, and power lines, and create numerous to widespread power outages, possibly lasting several days. It is important to take this storm seriously. The time to prepare is right now. Make sure you have enough food and water on hand for several days, ensure any prescriptions are filled, and make a plan for what you will do if you lose power. And once that's done, please check on your neighbors, especially elderly or more vulnerable neighbors. There are a number of resources to help you prepare, including a list of important phone numbers during an emergency that can be found at buncombeready.org. Our community has proven that we are both resilient and passionate about helping our neighbors. Those strengths will no doubt be critical to our community's well-being as we prepare to weather another storm. To provide further details about the storm, I'll turn this over to Ryan Cole, Buncombe County Emergency Services Assistant Director. Thank you.
Good afternoon. With the delayed arrival of the storm, our Emergency Operations Center will activate at 8 a.m. Saturday morning. Unfortunately, the forecast has shifted significantly with this, and it's now more perilous with the ice that is coming in. We're still under a winter storm watch through 1 p.m. on Monday. However, we are anticipating winter storm warnings likely later today that will be coming in. Most of the counties expected to receive 1/2 inch of ice. As you see on our map, we have 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice for the majority of the county, with some areas going from 1/2 inch to 3/4. And we're going to have isolated pockets with up to 1 inch of ice. Anytime that we have over a quarter of inch of ice, we have significant threat of power lines being falling, trees falling, and creating hazardous roadways. Understand that with this storm coming in, the minimum that we're getting predicted right now is that quarter inch of ice up to an inch of ice in isolated areas. And that's why it is so important for everyone to remain at home and stay off of roadways and be prepared for those conditions to be able to shelter in your home and have that in place. With that in mind, we will have the shelters open. If you need those, please utilize those. And also, David will be talking about hotels that are making space available as well. Beginning lunchtime tomorrow, please plan to remain in place for several days, as we had spoke about, because of the roads being impassable and power lines and trees down. As you can see with the next map, this is going to start coming in about noon tomorrow and expanding through the area. This will last through Sunday and into Monday. As with the next slide, you'll see that we're going to start seeing this dissipating with the current forecast, 3 p.m. on Sunday, between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. on Sunday. The biggest hazard that we have now is on top of the storm that's coming in is how many days we're going to have extremely low temperatures. We know that we're going to have wind chills at single digits on Sunday night, with temperatures probably at single digits on Monday night with what we have currently forecasted. With keeping this in mind, we need to make sure that we keep the roadways clear for responders and crews, and that also allows power companies to come in. We also need to be mindful that this storm is starting today in Texas, coming all the way across to the Atlantic and going all the way up through the northern area. So with that it's affecting multiple states and multiple jurisdictions. And so as the power company, as responders are coming to assist, we are going to be limited. It's going to take a little bit of time to be able to get additional resources in here. So please be patient with that and be patient with the recovery as we move forward. Also, please do not use 911 for general questions. Use 911 for emergency. If you have general questions, you can go to buncombeready.org for additional tips and numbers. And you can also text 911 if you do not have access to be able to call and be able to communicate in that manner. Please take advantage, as we said, of the shelters if you need them. And if you need hotels, that list will be out there as well if you'd like to use that as a shelter. And as Amanda stated, please take care of your neighbors as we move forward with this. For more information, now HHS Director David Sweat will be coming to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. As Avril shared, and as Ryan mentioned as well, and Chair Edwards, we will be opening 3 shelters in Buncombe County beginning at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. As you just heard from Ryan, the weather is not expected to get here and impact our local area till around noon. So the shelters will be open even before the storm really gets here, to let you take advantage of those shelters. If you feel that the place where you're at is not going to be safe with these icy conditions and you want to relocate to a shelter, you can start doing so as early as 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. We will have cots and blankets available, but we are asking that when you come to the shelter, bring your changes of clothes, toiletries, snacks that you might like to have, your cell phone chargers, any other items that might make your stay more comfortable. Bring those with you. And also, it's very important that if you take prescription medications, you need to bring your prescriptions with you to the shelter. Each of the shelters will have a generator, and that is a considerable effort. We are making sure that each of these sites will be running on a generator and fully operational throughout the time period it's open. And but unfortunately, I do need to alert you that we cannot allow pets, household pets, in the shelters. There are many hotels at Explore Asheville shared yesterday that do allow pets. And if you feel that you will not be safe in your home and you need to relocate with your pets to another location, we would encourage you to make arrangements with one of those motels. We are grateful to Hearts with Hands that they're committing to providing meals for the people who are sheltering in our various locations. And there are a few considerations that we all need to make as we think about going into shelters, though, from a health point of view. We do have many respiratory illnesses circulating in the community. These include measles, but they also include influenza and other respiratory diseases. We will be providing health screenings at the door as people are checking into shelters, but understand these are not medical shelters. We cannot administer medical care in these locations. So it may be that if somebody presents and they're not well, that we may be working to divert them not from the shelter, but toward one of the motels. If you are currently in isolation due to measles exposure, we cannot allow you in the shelters. Please seek accommodations at a motel with an exterior facing entry point, and our staff who are conducting the contact tracing can help redirect you to that list of motels available. But if you need to move from your home and you are currently in measles isolation or quarantine, you would not go to the shelter, you would go to one of these motel arrangements. Of course, if you are experiencing symptoms of measles, which is a splotchy red rash that starts on your face, or an additional other symptoms like high fever, cough, red, itchy eyes, call your medical provider for consultation before you go anywhere. And remember that measles is one of the most contagious viruses that is known to humanity. It can linger in the air for 2 hours in an airspace, even after the person shedding virus has already left. So that's the reason that we can't let somebody come into the shelters if they have any of those symptoms or they are in quarantine because they may start shedding measles virus. We do know that not everybody wants or even needs to stay in a shelter overnight. But if you need warming during the day, the shelters can also serve as a warming location. So if you need to come in for just a part of the day and just warm up, the shelters can accommodate that as well. We were very deliberate in selecting locations across the county so that we could have access in a variety of areas. Reiterating the shelter locations that will open Saturday morning: in Swannanoa, the Hearts with Hands facility at 850 Warren Wilson Road. In Northwest Buncombe County, we have Irwin High School's gymnasium at 60 Lees Creek Road in Asheville. And in the southern part of the county, we have the Reuters YMCA, 3 Town Square Boulevard in Asheville. At all those locations, we are initially preparing for 50 cots available at each site, with the ability to increase those, the number of cots is if we need to. But with that, I will turn it back over to Lillian. But please, if you are able to shelter in place, prepare to do so beginning around midday on Saturday, and be prepared to be in place in your home for 3 days at least. If you can't do that safely, these shelters are here and we are happy to help.
Thank you, David. With that, we'll now turn to the city of Asheville for updates, and we have Asheville City Manager DK Wesley here.
Thank you, Lillian. Good morning. I'm DK Wesley, City Manager for the City of Asheville. I'm grateful to our Buncombe County partners for continuing to create the space of coordination for local government officials and partners to speak directly to you, especially during uncertain times. Though uncertain, the weather forecast has become much clearer. And it's important that you know how to prepare and that the City of Asheville is prepared to respond. Ice storms can have serious impacts, especially on travel, power, and emergency response. That's why we're taking a proactive approach. City teams have been planning and coordinating for several days, reviewing staffing, equipment, and response protocols, so we're ready if conditions worsen. We are also urging residents to prepare immediately and not to wait until impact begins. Before I turn it over to Jeremy Knighton, Assistant Fire Chief of Emergency Management, I also want to pause and express my sincere gratitude to our city staff, the support of Mayor and Council, and our partners. From Public Works, Transportation, Facilities Management, IT Services, water crews, and utility workers, to first responders, emergency management, communications, and support staff, many of whom adjust their personal plans and work long hours doing events like this. Your professionalism and dedication do not go unnoticed. This is a true team effort, and I'm proud of the people who serve this community. We encourage everyone to take this information seriously, prepare early, and look out for neighbors, especially seniors, neighbors with different abilities, and those who may need extra assistance. With that, I'll turn it over to Jeremy Knighton, who will provide additional operational details.
Thank you and good morning. As the city manager stated, this is a true team effort, and you are a part of that team. To highlight some of the key operational readiness, APD, AFD have increased staffing. Our resource engagement and support team will be increasing the staffing to provide that 24-hour service over the weekend. Our transit is prepared and continuously monitoring and will be monitoring through the weekend to assess those route conditions and adjust service as needed. Our water resources have topped off all of their tanks and are prepared to work throughout the weekend and will be maintained at its capacity for the duration of the storm. Public Works has already been out on the streets assessing, increasing capacity with equipment and additional staffing, also preparing for 24-hour operations through the weekend. Some of our closures we want to talk about are parks and recreation community centers on Saturday and Sunday will be closed, and that includes all programming to include basketball games. The Western North Carolina Nature Center will also be closed on Saturday and Sunday, echoing the messages we've heard. The safest place to be during this storm is at home and off of the roads. And then a critical reminder about parking. Please do not park on the roads after 5 p.m. today. All city beginning at 5 p.m. tonight for those that need somewhere to park their vehicle. This allows critical access for our snow plows as well as emergency response vehicles to speed our recovery from this storm. Parked vehicles are the biggest barriers to effective snow removal. And always, as a reminder, give those space heaters some space, plug directly into wall outlets, and if your building or occupancy has a sprinkler system, please try to maintain that 40 degrees internal temperature in the occupancy, as well as checking on it regularly. For additional updates, please sign up for AVL alerts through the City of Asheville website as well as following us on social media through Instagram, X, Nextdoor, and the city website. Thank you and be safe. I'll now turn it back over to Lillian.
Thanks, Jeremy. I did just get an update from the Blue Ridge Parkway. Beginning this evening, the entirety of the Blue Ridge Parkway will be closed. So the entire length of the Blue Ridge Parkway will close beginning this evening. So if you were like me when I was in high school and your favorite thing was to go on the parkway when there was snow day, please know it's closed. All right, next up, we're happy to have Scotty Harris, who is our town manager from the town of Weaverville.
Thank you, Lillian. I'm Scotty Harris, Town Manager, Weaverville. The town of Weaverville will be operating with Buncombe County under state of emergency and will close Monday due to inclement weather. Monday sanitation routes will be rescheduled for Thursday, pending road conditions. We will continue to keep the community involved regarding resumptions of our non-essential town services and the reopening of town offices. Our council meeting scheduled for Monday night will be rescheduled for Monday, February the 2nd. Today is your final day to take preparations as the weather will change starting tomorrow. This event has become more of an ice event rather than a snow event, which represents our worst case scenario to our area. Significant icing will severely impact our road conditions and is expected to delay emergency response. An Arctic air mass will follow the storm with daytime temperatures remaining below freezing until at least Tuesday. Overnight, temperatures are expected to drop in the single digits and teens, which will result in refreezing. We would ask that if you visit any ponds, please do not cross a frozen pond. Although it may appear safe, it is a hazard and will create an extra response for our emergency service personnel. So again, I would like to remind you that although that pond may look inviting and may look safe, do not cross any frozen ponds in our Lake Louise area or any water within our Buncombe County jurisdictions for safety of yourself and the safety of our responders. Residents who rely on oxygen concentration should ensure to have a minimum of 72 hours backup oxygen. Please contact your supply company as the local emergency responders are not adequately equipped to bring you oxygen to suffice for that amount of time. Our oxygen carries for emergency personnel and emergency responses only. In the event of an emergency, expect delays in our response due to hazard condition roads and terrains. While our public works, public safety, fire and law enforcement personnel have increased staffing, responders will also be impacted by the storm and access may be limited. If you require emergency assistance, dial 911. Please do not call the fire department or police department office numbers as administrative lines will not be staffed during the storm. Again, please take this advice seriously and prepare now. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, our last guest before we get to questions, we've got David Uchiyama, who is very busy right now with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. Thanks for making time for us.
Morning, y'all. I'm David Uchiyama, Western Communications Manager for North Carolina Department of Transportation. And let me tell you right now, this storm has our attention here in Buncombe County, across the mountains, and in fact, across the entire state. For this event right here today, we're going to concentrate on the mountains and in Buncombe County. Since everybody woke up on Tuesday morning associated with NCDOT, and on a personal note, woke up Tuesday with Indiana University as the college football champion, NCDOT crews have been preparing for this storm. They have used years of experience to prepare. We have used all the tools that we use during any winter storm. They have been out on all the roads, laying down brine throughout the week. I-40, I-26, I-240. Those are typical routes that we brine. They were brined first for this storm. We have moved on to our other highways, NC and US routes, and in some cases, we are moving on to secondary routes. That should help, but certainly not prevent, snow and ice from sticking to the roads. NCDOT here in Buncombe County has more than 6,000 tons of salt on hand. Essentially, every single one of our bins is full, not just at the main yard, but at all of our satellite campuses. We will work 24/7 starting today in Buncombe County and across all of Western North Carolina, treating the roads. The most important message that I have, stay home. Why go out? Almost everything's going to be shut down in the first place. And unless it's an emergency, you probably don't need to be out there. By staying off the roads, that allows our crews to work on the roads and get them reopened and up to satisfactory and safe levels as quickly as possible after the storm event concludes. By staying off the road, that also allows the power companies to get where they need to go, to do the work they need to do to restore the power to every single community in Buncombe County, Western North Carolina, and across the state as quickly as possible. Only in an emergency should you go out. What other points do I need to hit, Lillian? Once again, last point, please stay home. And as always, stay safe.
Thank you, David. And we'll have David stick around. I know we've got members of the media on the Zoom call who have questions, and we're also getting some questions from folks online. We've pointed to the cold temperatures. We can't, reinforce enough. Not only do we have the issue of the ice coming in, but the cold temperatures that come behind it, the risk of hypothermia is very real. It only takes minutes for hypothermia to set in and become a real medical crisis. So please take these warnings extremely seriously. As we get to questions, we've got Clay Chandler, who is here, who's able to answer questions about water. David Uchiyama is here. We also have Caroline from the Duke Energy, who's joining us via Zoom, and she's able to answer some questions if we have any questions for Duke. Catalina has sent me some questions that have come in already from social media. One of them is about how safe will it be to drive down south next week? Keeping it in mind, weather will be in single digits and ice will likely stick longer. DriveNC.gov is your go-to source for current road conditions. So check that. We will not know what road conditions will be next week until we see exactly how severe this storm is and the impacts that it creates over the next 48 hours. So DriveNC.gov is your go-to source there. Next question that we have is for Clay. Are the water authorities able to be powered by generators during this?
Thanks, Lillian. Yeah, that's a really good question. And the answer is yes. All 3 of our treatment plants and all 41 of our pump stations have generators in place. Most of them are diesel powered. We do have a handful of propane. All of those fuel tanks have been topped off as of last night. Most of them have operating capacity, if they're operating continuously, 3 to 4 days. So let's say, and it's very important to note, especially at the pump stations, those pumps do not run all the time. They only kick on when the tanks at the storage tanks that they serve fall down to a certain level. So they're not running continuously. So that does stretch out their operational time if they have to switch over to generator power. But yes, all 3 treatment plants, all 41 pump stations do have backup power via generator.
Thank you, Clay. Another question from social media is about buses. And so I'll ask Jeremy to come up. Will the buses be running and will they be free? And also, will buses help take people to shelters?
So currently our transportation and transit are, again, like I said, monitoring road conditions closely. We realize that mobility is very important and we want to maintain that service as absolute long as we can. There are plans and preparations being made now to continue service until it's where we can't. Again, transportation to a shelter, we want to, if that's something you think you're going to need, let's do that sooner than later. I think we talked about 9 o'clock from our partners at DHHS. So let's make that decision as quick as we can so that we can ensure that safe transportation. During the event, again, we'll be prioritizing emergencies due to just impaired travel, but we realize this could be an issue and there are plans in place. But again, if the decision to go to a shelter, let's make it as fast as we can so that we can ensure that safe transportation.
Another question that we got via the chat was about where can the homeless shelter and or just warm up? We are under a code purple at this time. Code purple means that there are extended hours and reduced restrictions for entering those shelters. They have additional beds available. You can find all of those listed at buncombeready.org. Those shelters accept men, they accept women, they accept couples, and they accept people with pets. So again, the barriers to accessing those shelters have been reduced, and our community paramedics and the City of Asheville Fire Department team, they're working to connect with our unhoused residents to make sure that they're getting the service that they need in order to stay safe through this storm as well. We will open it up to questions from the media. I know we've got Citizen Times here in person. We also have WLOS and Blue Ridge Public Radio and some other outlets on Zoom. So I will look to our Zoom folks to see if we have any questions for the folks who have spoken here today, or Water Resources or Duke Energy.
Hi, Lillian. Can you hear us?
We can hear you. Hey, Kim.
Good morning, and thank you, everyone. City Manager, welcome to the new position. I'd like to ask two questions. We're just so sensitive to what happened with Helene, with communications. What has the county and what has the city done, if anything, to potentially help communications during this emergency over the next 3 days? And then the second thing I would ask is, can you explain how emergency response happens for people who have emergencies in the city and the county when they do have a true emergency, and what you have seen in the past with an ice storm? If anyone with experience in either county or city could talk about that.
So, well, two questions, and we'll break that up. The first one is improving communications, and one of those things is exactly what's happening right now, Kim. We know that folks trust our media partners, and they trust WLOS and you to help get that information. And taking it seriously and taking action to prepare now is what helps. In the event of a power outage, we've been encouraging our community to make sure that they have battery powered and hand cranked radios so that they can get those updates even if there's no power. And so that proactive piece is really a major component in improving the communications. Certainly on the back end with infrastructure, improvements have been made since Helene. And so there are multiple redundancies and more supports in place than that we've made since the storm. When it comes to the second part of your second question, I'm looking at Jeremy and I'm looking at Ryan Cole, and I'm going to invite Jeremy up to come give an answer for how we're going to respond to emergencies.
Thank you. Great question. So, as I said earlier, we've been preparing for 3 days now with this storm coming. And what preparation looks like is augmenting our response with increased staffing, but also adding equipment to our vehicles, the chains, whether they're cable chains, heavy chains, but we're also going to be upstaffing with folks to use chainsaws to ensure that critical access to places. So it'll be a tiered response, but it'll also be partnered up with those folks to maintain that critical access. Also, when it comes to the communications as well, we have adopted something called a PACE plan, the primary, alternate, contingent, and emergent. So as we have went through the Helene after action reviews, that's kind of where we've been focused on that. So as Lillian said, building in those redundancies is key, not only in communications, but in response. So with that staff augmentation, that's how we're addressing that.
Could you, in layperson's terms, just say, what does augmentation exactly look like? What is that specifically?
That's increased staffing. We're adding additional fire companies to our response. That's also the coordination piece. We're staffing elements of our emergency operations centers. We're in close communication with all of our partners. So again, we stay in communication on a blue sky day, but as we ramp up to that storm preparation, it's not only the responders adding responders to the responses, but also that coordination and that level of command and control gets added as well.
I guess my only question is, like, if the power does go out, what is the backup? I know that is there any way you can explain that? Like, how will that help from Helene to now? Because I mean, I'm very happy to work at the TV station, but we, during the storm, couldn't even broadcast. The radio, we depended on the radio, as you're mentioning, get hand crank radios, but what from the Buncombe County side has been improved?
So, Kim, thank you for the question. And we have taken several steps, and I just want to kind of hit on a few things, then I'll come back to your question along the lines with what Jeremy had stated. So we have increased additional staffing as well on EMS side, as well as the county fire departments, and all of our law enforcement partners have told us that we have increasing staffing there to assist with that. As well as the chains to be able to put on the vehicles to respond in the snow. So I think that was your question as far as being able to respond in the ice. We have two different types of chains that can do that to be able to get in it depending on the depth of the ice. As far as increasing the infrastructure, we have invested into some Starlinks and redundancies within what we have. All of our critical infrastructure has backup power, and so we do have generator power at our critical infrastructure to be able to support staffing functions, whether that be at a fire station, at the EOC, or at the radio tower sites and those type of things. So from that standpoint, we have that in place to be able to make sure that that happens. I think that is one of the things that we're going to experience here is power outage. I'll go back to the information about that Lillian talked about earlier, that our partnering agencies and the communication as far as cell phones, that kind of thing, have told us that as they have gone in and made repairs, they have increased some redundancies in there as well. Again, those are powered by generators. They have to be able to get get fuel up to them. That doesn't mean that they're going to last forever either. And so we have things that have been significantly improved since Helene, and people have taken a lot of measures. However, depending on the length of this storm, how long it's access to it, and the damage here, we could experience some of the same issues that we have in place. I will say from a county, city, all of our partnering agencies, fire departments, everybody has taken significant measures to enhance their capabilities and resiliency with that. A good example of that is we are now partnering with bringing in an agency to supply the generator power to those different shelter locations to ensure that we have continuous power throughout the entire storm.
Thank you.
Just going to check with Caroline with Duke Energy if you have anything that you want to add on to what Ryan shared on that.
Yes, and let me know if you can hear and see me. I apologize. I
got
am
you,
still in
Caroline.
transit. Wonderful. So one thing that is new that I wanted to share, so thank you for the opportunity, is that we have crews coming from 27 states, including Canada, to the Carolinas that will be in place starting today and will be in place tonight ahead of the winter storm. Now, in total, we're looking at 18,000 crews, from tree trimmers to damage assessors to those line workers who will be able to restore power, when we do see the impact of the storm. we've heard it already from folks who have already spoken, but the main concern is really the ice. About a 1/4 inch of ice can start impacting tree limbs and trees, taking them down, potentially impacting power lines, and then up to a 1/4 inch of ice that actually starts potentially impacting power lines, and of course impacting roads, as everyone has been communicating before me. So, our top priority is that we're going to be restoring power as quickly and safely as possible, and that you can reach out to us via the Duke Energy app, calling us 1-800-POWER-ON. You can also go to our website in order to report an outage, duke-energy.com. As everyone has already reiterated, it's really imperative. Right now is the time to prepare for a potential power outage over the weekend due to this winter storm. So making sure that you have emergency backups in place. We, Duke Energy, we have a lot of crews coming to the Carolinas to assist. Like I said, 27 states, including Canada. It's going to be a total of 18,000 in the Carolinas as of this evening. So any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Caroline. We've got some questions about street parking, so I'm going to ask Jeremy to come up, and then we've got a question for our HHS director that we'll pass to him after we cover street parking again. Folks want, can you reiterate or repeat the point about street parking? Thousands of residents already park on the street because they don't have a driveway. That's more than the city parking decks can hold. Again, city parking decks will be free. County parking decks, we're using those for staging areas, so those will not be free during this time, but I'm going to have Jeremy reiterate our parking requests.
Yeah, so we're asking everyone 5 p.m. this afternoon, try to get those vehicles off of the roadways so that we can ensure access, but also speed up in the manner in which we plow the roads and get those roads treated. 5 o'clock this afternoon, all of the city parking decks, the gates will be open free of charge for folks to move their vehicles from that street parking into those parking garages. So we encourage you to do that as best you can, or if there's a neighbor, a church, anywhere you can put your vehicle that's safe, but to get it out of those roadways so that we can ensure that quick access and quick treatment.
Thank you, Jeremy. We have a question in the chat about emergency food stamps. Will we be getting emergency food stamps? That would come from a federal emergency declaration or disaster declaration, excuse me. And so that would happen after the impact of the storm is realized. And so those aren't made in advance. And so it really will be a determination based on the impacts from the storm. Question is, what radio stations will be available if we have to go old school? I would expect that all of the radio stations will be continuing to broadcast as they did during Helene and the response to Helene. Let's see. If a person loses power and has no other heat source and we can't drive on the ice, how are they to get to a shelter without heat or with heat? So again, the preparation needs to take place now. If you experience a power outage in your home and you lose heat, like Ryan Cole shared yesterday, bring your family to one room, close off all of the doors, bring in all of your blankets, and make that one room your primary space where your family is living during that time to try to keep that heat in a closest proximity as possible. If you have a medical emergency, that is the time to call 911. Again, we have concerns about hypothermia. If you have a medical emergency, call 911. There is a question about, will there be Wi-Fi locations for residents? Right now, that is not part of our planning. Our planning at this juncture is to make sure that people have access to warm, safe locations to sleep, to use as a warming shelter. And so those are our primary drivers at this time. We don't expect this to be an extended event like we saw with Helene, where we were going weeks without the ability to have strong communications with each other. And so that is not in our planning at this time. Folks are asking about French Broad Electric. They also are bolstering their resources. And so if you need that phone number for French Broad Electric, please go to buncombeready.org. We've got all of those helpful phone numbers there. All of the locations of the shelters are there. So please go to buncombeready.org and get that information for French Broad Electric in case you need to report that power outage. I'm looking at Riley. Any questions, Riley?
These shelters have Wi-Fi access?
It's possible the shelters will have Wi-Fi access. It really it depends on what will happen with the storm. Like we said, we're bringing in generators. So we will have that power component, which is a big thing that you need in order to keep your router going, but it just really depends on the impacts of the ice. Thank you. Did you read my notes? So Buncombe County is not going to host any briefings over the weekend. Certainly, City of Asheville may have updates. Duke Energy may have updates. David Uchiyama and DOT are going to have a lot of updates. However, we will not host any community briefings on Saturday or on Sunday. So look to those outlets for that direct information. Any other questions from folks on the line? I saw that Helen Chickering joined. All right. So with that, we've said plenty of times, can't be understated. Prepare now. Go to buncombeready.org for tips, useful numbers, a recap of everything we shared here today. The shelter locations are all available there. Once they open tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., they remain open, so you can access them at any point that you need to. There are not certain hours that those shelters only accept folks coming in. You know, I don't mind sharing that despite a lot of preparation and lessons learned from Helene, I'm feeling anxious about what the storm may bring for my own family, for my neighbors who are still working so hard to recover from Helene. So want to remind folks that Hope for North Carolina is here. Hope for NC is a confidential, free way to talk to a real person. If you're in a mental health crisis, if you have emotional fatigue, there's a whole lot of that right now. If you're experiencing stress, completely normal. We'll put this in the comments, but you can call Hope for NC helpline anytime, day or night, at 855-587-3463. Again, that's 855-587-3463. I just got another question. Is there going to be any way a family from out of town can file a missing person report if many days or weeks after the storm and they have not heard from family? That, of course, is going to be a 911 call if you have concerns about the safety and well-being of a family member. Will there be shelters with electricity for oxygen concentrator uses? All of our shelters will have electricity. If you utilize oxygen, make sure you get additional tanks at this time and everything that you need for multiple days in order to stay well and stay healthy. And so if you need to plug in your device, but you don't need medical help, you can certainly take advantage of our shelters. But these are not medical shelters where we can administer any type of medical support for you. Like we shared, there will be no community briefings on Saturday or on Sunday. For those media partners who want to provide updates in Spanish, please stay on the Zoom call. That update will take place momentarily. Thank you. Prepare now and stay safe.